And I say that as a question.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think we're there, Rob. Look, I'm sure there'll be some dirty days between now and October, but in all intents and purposes, yesterday was a wonderful day, 18 degrees. Soil temperature started to move up, but things are actually moving out on the crops. Like green tips happening in apples and happening in the things that should be happening in raspberries and that sort of thing. So, and vegetables are starting to move that were planted earlier in the winter. They set their roots and now they're on the move. So things are definitely warming up.
However,
we could still have a series of frosts, although the snow's running away pretty quickly. But no, look, it's a funny old spring. I was just talking to my colleagues in Europe during the last 10 days on email, and they have had a most frustrating harvest of various crops, and it started way back in the spring when the weather was so indifferent. And look, we're experiencing the same thing, so we could be in for a fun time over the next 4 or 5 months.
So what do we do now? Because as you said, the frosts could be very, very real.
Yeah. Right at the moment, we're starting to see in all crops, whether they be vegetable crops, whether they be fruit crops, young, new growing tissue, very sensitive to frost, very sensitive to weather change. If we get a screaming nor'wester day, they'll get burned. If we get a frost, they'll get burned. So there's a lot of things we can do to minimise that, I dare say, that reaction of the tissue to those changing events. And one of the main things is that to apply copper to actually remove the bacteria in the water and in the moisture of the plant, which will minimise frost damage. So that's one thing. But what that copper also does, it protects the plant's tissue with a cover of fungicide that actually does help not only just to remove the bacteria, but also just helps the
so there's a wee touch of oil, as it were.
Yeah. There's a layer, there's a halo over that young tissue, which does help with copper. But there are a number of other things, especially when you've got trees and bushes and those types of crops, where you must minimise the amount of grass or trash that's down underneath them and also in between the rows. If you do that, frost attaches to long grass or attaches to foliage. Therefore, temperatures come down, and when they start to rise, the frost comes up and still damages the crop. So growers should be mowing or spraying out or cultivating those areas and keeping them nice and clean and bare as ground as they possibly can. Even by putting a couple of litres of Roundup over down a grass strip, in 6 weeks' time, that's got grass back in it. It's just got a temporary sort of a temporary control, and that grass obviously dies down into a mulch and less frost damage, less potential for frost damage. But if we get a -5 degrees for 5 hours, you can't do anything against that sort of thing. So when we're talking about prevention, Rob, we're talking about frost that are maybe 1.5 degrees and last for a few hours, or that sharp -3 degrees, but from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning. They very rarely do any damage at all. It's that one that starts at 9 o'clock in the evening and goes through to 7 o'clock in the morning. And it doesn't matter what its temperature is, it'll do damage.
Exactly. And as far as the soil moisture concerned,
moisture has been, the rain we've just had recently was absolutely excellent, and it all went in, because there was some previous moisture there. So where I've been talking about the last month or so, the top 2 or 3 centimetres being very dry, with the frequent small 10 fill 5 mil rain events we have had, that's moistened that, softened that cap, as it were, and now we've got some nice moisture going into the ground. Over the last weekend we had across Canterbury and in the North Island, east coast of the North Island, 10 to 15 millimetres of rain, which is actually quite magic at this time of the year. So what does that do? If frost follow that, the ground temperature will stay cold. But if it continues to be quite mild and warm, those ground temperatures will start to move. And they must be moving because the young root hairs are growing. That's what's making things shoot at this stage. So there's a slow evolution into the springtime now, not as a rushed one I thought might have happened.
Have we caught up again? Because at one stage
we're not. No, we're probably still 10 days. That's probably an exaggeration. Probably a good week still behind. There's no doubt about that. We could still catch that up, but I would say
invariably we do, don't we?
Yeah, invariably we do. But I think we're still in for a wet, cold type of maybe October, November period. I'm hoping I'm absolutely wrong, and I'd love to be proven wrong. But it's just got that feel about it, and there's not a lot of snow in the refrigerator. up there, so we're not going to have big thaws. And guys have been dry and they've been irrigating. So it's one of those years that tells me that things are going to be pretty tight going forward in terms of moisture in the ground. But when we do get it, we're going to get it at the wrong time. And that's rather frustrating, really, Rob.
Actually, it's quite interesting because a mate of mine, Arthur Blakely, has always said that on the 26th of August, we'll always get rain.
Yes.
And we did.
Yes, that'd be right, yeah.
Isn't it funny? Because you go into all those sort of statistics and things. And
Well, a gentleman who's long passed, he said to me, he's a very good grower. He said to me one time about 15 years ago, he said, Jim, if we haven't had 6 snows on the Port Hills, we haven't had the finish of winter. And you know, I watched that for 11 years. He was absolutely right. And I haven't counted the snow this year.
no, so we should have perhaps. Thanks very much indeed, Jim.